The scene opened at a funeral, crowded with men dressed in black suits. But these weren't ordinary mourners. They were all gangsters. They had gathered to pay their final respects to their deceased gang leader. Outside the hall, two men stood talking. One of them mentioned that the gang leader's son, the MC, must be deeply depressed after his father's death. Just then, the MC walked past them. His face was blank, showing no emotion. When they asked where he was going, he simply replied that he was stepping out for a minute. He also told them that if Uncle Ilhua came looking, they should say he went out. The two men assumed he needed fresh air to cope with the loss. But what they didn't notice was the box he was holding. Shortly after, Uncle Ilhua arrived and asked where the MC had gone. They told him he went outside for air. By then, the MC was already on his motorcycle. Uncle Ilhua shouted after him, asking if he had lost his mind, because the box he was carrying contained condolence money. The MC responded calmly, telling him to live well without him and to take care of himself. Despite Ilhua trying to stop him, the MC rode away. Furious, the uncle ordered the others to call every member to catch him. One man rushed inside and announced that it was an emergency. The next shot was a picture of the deceased gang leader. It might have seemed that the MC was cold-hearted, but in truth, he had been raised in that kind of environment. While riding his bike, the box suddenly opened, and the condolence money flew out. People on the streets were shocked as money rained down around them. A girl sitting nearby with visible bruises on her face also looked up in surprise as the cash fell from the sky. Later that day, the MC checked the box and was stunned to see that most of the money was gone. Only a little remained. Still, he smiled, saying it was enough to begin a new journey, and that he would prove his uncle and everyone else wrong. Sometime later, the MC arrived at a rundown room rental building. An old lady was showing him around, claiming that at this rate, he wouldn't find a better room anywhere else. She then led him to his new place. The room was in terrible condition. Broken tiles, rusted fixtures, and even the ceiling was crumbling. The MC looked around and sarcastically asked if the room was supposed to give off a Korean War-era vibe. The old woman simply laughed, calling him humorous. As she began explaining the building's rules, the MC suddenly noticed a girl nearby. She gave him a cold, irritated glance before slamming her door shut. The old lady casually mentioned that people of all genders lived in this building and that she didn't allow just anyone to rent here. She claimed the only reason she let the MC stay was because he looked innocent, then reminded him to follow her rules before leaving. Alone in the shabby room, the MC looked around and thought to himself that given his circumstances, this wasn't exactly a fresh start. On top of everything, he had already lost all the condolence money. The small amount he had left was barely enough to cover the rent. Glancing at his school uniform, he muttered that at least the uniform wasn't too expensive. The scene cut back to an earlier moment, a heated argument between the MC and his uncle. His uncle had been furious, demanding to know how the MC could just disappear without even talking to him. He shouted at him to stop ignoring his calls. But the MC bluntly told him to quit calling. He wasn't coming back. His uncle, now calmer, asked if he even had enough money to settle down. The MC explained that the box he took with him had only 500,000 won. Hearing that, his uncle exploded. He asked again how much he said, and when the MC repeated it, he lost it, yelling that the condolence box had over 50 million won inside. That money had been left by dozens of people as a final tribute to the gang boss. It wasn't meant for the MC, and now it was all gone. The MC, unfazed, told him to stop yelling. His ears were ringing. He promised to pay it back. His uncle asked how exactly he planned to do that. The MC replied that he'd take on delivery jobs with his bike. His uncle mocked the idea, asking if the MC really came all the way to Seoul just to become a part-time delivery boy. He pointed out that the MC had run off with no plan, acting like he had some grand vision. But then, the uncle said something unexpected. He offered to help the MC enroll in a Seoul high school. The MC asked where that suddenly came from. His uncle replied that if the MC really wanted to start over, he needed to graduate. And if he managed to graduate as the #1 student in the school, he would forget about the 50 million won debt. Not just that, he'd even give the MC an allowance to start his life anew. The MC smirked at the deal, sarcastically calling it generous. He added that taking over a school sounded too easy. His uncle simply grinned and told him he'd find out soon. It wouldn't be as easy as he thought. That school was none other than the infamous Gangbuk High, also known as Peepak High, known for chaos and violence. It wasn't unusual to hear the sounds of students getting beaten up echoing through its halls. Most of the students were delinquents with nothing to lose. Yet, the school still had a surprisingly high graduation rate. It was the perfect place to test the MC's limits, and his uncle wanted him to earn it, not breeze through it. As the MC entered the school, everyone passing by stared at him. Noticing their gazes, he thought to himself, "Looks like the rumors weren't wrong. These guys seem tougher than I expected." But the MC wasn't impressed. In his eyes, these guys were just noisy high schoolers, or at best, street punks. His assigned class was third year, class 1. The MC slammed the door open in frustration, angry that his uncle had staked 50 million won against a bunch of kids. But this was the perfect chance to prove what he was really capable of. As he entered, the students turned to look at him, whispering that it was their first time seeing him. Some asked if he was a transfer. The MC slammed his hand on a nearby desk and introduced himself as Wang Dam from Daejeon. He then asked directly, who was the top dog in this class? One student looked up with annoyance and replied that he was trying to study. The MC looked around and noticed that everyone in the room was, in fact, studying. Frustrated, he asked what was going on. Wasn't this place supposed to be a fight hall? What was with all the studying? The same student replied bluntly that everyone was studying and questioned why the MC was acting like this out of nowhere. In response, the MC kicked him, sparking outrage from the others. Furious, he asked why they were acting like this. Wasn't this school famous for fights? He started asking students about their ranks, calling them crazy for focusing on books. He told them to act normal, meaning start brawling. Someone slammed a book into the MC's face. The others rushed at him, and now finally, the MC looked satisfied. He grabbed a chair and slammed it onto one guy, knocking him down. Another rushed him. MC dodged and landed a punch square in the face. A bald student managed to land a punch on MC, but he only smirked before hitting back even harder. As the fight escalated, MC grabbed a thick book and smashed it across the bald guy's face. Students watching began to wonder if he was insane. After beating the guy to the ground, the MC asked the next student if he wanted to fight too. The student refused. MC scoffed. This was the infamous gangbook high? Just then, someone appeared behind him, grabbing the MC by his hair. He complained that he'd been trying to sleep after a long study session, but the MC's noise had woken him up. He didn't think much of the MC at first, until the MC spun around and landed a kick to his face. He then wrapped his legs around the guy's neck, choking him and punching his face repeatedly. The big guy retaliated by grabbing MC's neck and slamming him. MC dodged the next hit, countered with a gut punch, then landed a brutal uppercut. Even as the big guy held onto MC's collar, the force broke his shirt buttons. When he looked up, he froze. Underneath, MC's body was ripped, covered in muscle and scars. The guy hesitated and wondered, was this guy actually a gangster? That student was Park Handong. His physical strength and presence alone were leagues above an average high schooler. But what truly scared others was his intense gaze. Except this time, his glare turned into a trembling plea. He begged MC for forgiveness. MC ended the fight with a punch that sent him crashing to the ground. Then, he demanded to know who the real boss of the class was. Just then, someone else entered, Kim Tae-suk. The MC asked a nearby student if that was the teacher. The student warned him that if he planned to be number one, he needed to know that guy. He was the true top dog. MC approached Tae-suk and snatched his book, which made the whole class tense up. He looked at the pages, dumbfounded by what Tae-suk was actually studying, then tossed the book aside. He challenged Tae-suk to a fight for the top spot. Tae-suk calmly reached under his shirt. MC braced himself, thinking he might pull a knife. But instead, Tae-suk just took out a handkerchief to clean his glasses. He coldly remarked that it seemed like another lowlife had wandered in. The MC didn't waste time. He launched a punch straight at him, but was sent flying across the room with just one hit. Tae-suk fixed his glasses and told him with a slight smirk, "Welcome to Pak High School." Sometime later, the MC slowly opened his eyes, groaning in pain. As he looked around the room, he realized he was no longer in the classroom. He sat up, scanning the unfamiliar surroundings, and it hit him. He had been knocked out cold, with just one punch. A student nearby noticed he was awake and asked if he was all right. The MC asked where they were, and the boy replied that they were in the school infirmary. Apparently, he'd been out for a long time. The student then hesitated and asked if MC was the new transfer who got beaten up by Kim Tae-suk. Realizing what he just said, the MC hit him on the head and snapped that it wasn't a beatdown. It was a cheap sneak attack. The boy apologized nervously and clarified that Tae-suk wasn't the kind of guy to do sneak attacks. Changing the topic, he introduced himself as Sun Siwon and said he hoped they could get along. The MC ignored the handshake, but Siwon stayed cheerful, saying that if the MC had any questions about the school, he could ask him. He knew everything. The MC asked directly if Tae-suk was the leader of this place. Siwon confirmed it. He said Tae-suk was not only the strongest, but also smart. Half Korean, half African. His nickname was Tyson. He added that Tae-suk was the reason the school's employment system was still in place. The MC blinked, confused. Employment system? Siwon explained that the top 7 students at the school, ranked by test scores, could secure jobs at major manufacturing companies tied to big corporations. That reward attracted many transfers. But the MC interrupted. "Wait, you're talking about studying?" Siwon nodded. The MC scoffed, saying he thought this school was full of delinquents. It didn't sound like a place for geniuses. Siwon explained that it used to be like that. The school was once overrun with troublemakers until the director introduced the employment system to change things. But the students weren't the type to change just because of some reward. The chaos continued. Students started cheating, stealing answer sheets, and even manipulating grades. Then came Jo Yohan, the strongest at the time, who took things further by rigging everyone's grades. The school eventually gave up trying to fix anything. That was when Tae-suk transferred in. On his first day, Tae-suk was stopped by two students who mocked him for having only one parent. Without a word, he knocked one of them out. Then, in no time, he took over all the classes and beat every big name in the school, including Jo Yohan. After establishing dominance, Tae-suk ranked first in the exams and declared that the school's top spot would now be determined by grades alone. Surprisingly, no one objected. And so, the once chaotic Pipak High started shifting, slowly but surely. Hearing all this, the MC couldn't help but think that Si-hwan was quite the storyteller. It all sounded like a light novel. But at the same time, none of it felt like a lie. He remembered his uncle mentioning job placements from big corporations. Was this the real reason he sent him here? The MC then asked, "So you're telling me, to become the leader of this place, I have to study?" Si-hwan nodded again. "If you want to be number one, that's the only way." The MC grabbed him by the collar. "Can't I just beat someone up for it? I've never studied a single day in my life. And isn't everyone here studying because they're too scared to fight Tae-suk?" Just then, a calm voice cut in. A woman said that would be troubling. It was the school nurse. The MC looked at her and asked how she knew he was a transfer. Before she could answer, Si-hwan jumped in and said, "What do you mean? She's the school nurse, and also our teacher." He added that she was the only one who still cared about the students, even after the director gave up. She was known as Teacher Eugene, and according to him, she was like a ray of light in a school full of trash. The MC shut him up by slapping a hand over his mouth. Teacher Eugene warned the MC not to get involved in any more fights. Many students had already been hurt today. Then she asked Si-hwan what time it was. He replied that school was almost over. The MC suddenly jumped up. She asked what he was doing. He replied, "Isn't it obvious? I'm going to take that bastard Tae-suk down. He knocked me out for a whole day." But then he paused, realizing something. Wait, wasn't this actually a good thing? He had skipped school legally. Si-hwan asked if he was really going to fight Tae-suk again, saying it was pointless. The MC smirked and said, "I'll decide that." As he turned, a guy behind him shouted for him to hurry up. It was his turn. The guy pushed past MC with an overly excited walk. The MC looked outside the infirmary and saw a long line of boys. They yelled at him to move, saying he was blocking the way. He looked at their faces and told them they were better off visiting a plastic surgeon. Then, turning around, he said they looked like leftover pizza crusts. That ticked them off. Some of them whispered among themselves, recognizing him as the guy who fought Tae-suk earlier. Back in class, the MC stormed in and called out Tae-suk, asking if he was heading home. Before he could leave, the MC challenged him to another fight. Everyone in the class exploded, shouting at him. "What are you saying after getting knocked out in one punch?" Tae-suk turned, calm as ever, and asked if he was serious. Wasn't the result pretty clear? The MC asked if he was scared. Tae-suk ignored him and walked on. MC shouted, "Are you scared to fight me again? I'll follow you to your house if I have to." Tae-suk calmly replied that the rules weren't nonsense. It was how things worked now. Besides, he didn't feel the need to fight someone he'd already beaten. Frustrated, MC yelled, asking if deciding a leader based on grades even made sense. But Tae-suk saw through him. He said the MC probably just wanted the job offer without doing the work. "Whatever you heard, that system's long gone. If you want a job, study for it." The MC thought to himself. Getting a job wasn't the problem. He needed to clear his debt. As Tae-suk walked away, MC called out to him, and then flashed him the legendary gesture. Everyone in class gasped. "He's dead." But Tae-suk didn't react. He said they were done talking. He'd seen plenty of guys like MC before, wannabe gangsters playing tough. He walked away. Another student said he couldn't even watch. If Tae-suk had accepted, you'd be back in the infirmary. MC told him to shut up and study. Then he asked, "Should I just fight you instead?" The boy looked frightened. MC told him to fix his face to look kinder. The boy obeyed, and MC left the classroom. Outside, Si-hwan ran up and asked if he was going home. The MC asked why he was acting friendly all of a sudden. Si-hwan replied that he wanted to be friends with strong people. MC chuckled. "At least you've got good eyes." Si-hwan then asked, "Did you fight Tae-suk again?" MC said no. Tae-suk ran off, telling him to study. That pissed him off more than the punch earlier. If he hadn't let his guard down, he would have won. Then he asked Si-hwan, why was Tae-suk preaching about studying when he beat up kids himself? The MC wondered if taunting him harder would push Tae-suk into a fight. Si-hwan asked again, "Why do you even want to be the leader? You don't care about the employment stuff, right?" The MC confirmed. He wasn't after a job. Si-hwan admitted something then. He said he was glad Tae-suk became leader. Not through violence, but grades. The school used to be a nightmare for kids like him. But thanks to Tae-suk, he could finally attend like a normal student. "If you ignore his rules and take over by force, the school will return to the hell it once was," he said. "And I can't support someone like that." MC stared at him, then walked over and gently placed a hand on his head. He said, "I didn't think about that, thanks." Maybe there was a reason his uncle sent him here after all. Maybe it was time to beat Tae-suk, both in fighting and studying. He'd never studied before, but how hard could it be? Si-hwan smiled. "Some people pick it up fast. Did you get your textbooks?" MC told him he hadn't had the chance yet. He went straight to the infirmary after transferring. Just then, 2 guys appeared. One of them punched Suwon in the face, knocking him down. The MC looked at them calmly. One of the guys sneered, "Didn't I say I'd beat you up if I saw you again?" Then he turned to MC and asked if he was the transfer. He introduced himself as Kim Go-wong, and the guy beside him as Park Da-hee. They said they'd heard about MC's fight with Tae-suk, and they wanted to talk somewhere else. MC picked up Si-hwan's glasses, fixed them, and said, "Lead the way." As they walked, the two explained they were under the command of Jo Yo-han, the previous top dog who ruled with brute strength. Even though he lost, they still considered him their leader. MC remembered Si-hwan had mentioned Johan earlier. He asked, "Didn't he get his ass handed to him by Tae-suk?" They claimed it wasn't that simple. Just like how MC wasn't willing to accept his defeat, they believed Johan's loss had special circumstances. They said they wanted to bring back the old ways, take down Tae-suk and return the school to what it was. MC asked, "So you want me to join your boss?" They said yes, and praised his quick thinking. Suddenly, MC punched Ga-wong square in the face. "There's one problem," he said. "You asked me to go under someone else. That alone pisses me off." Then he cracked his knuckles and grinned. "Get ready to ride the ambulance." The 2 guys scoffed at MC, laughing as they called him delusional. They warned him not to underestimate them. They weren't as weak as he thought. Then without another word they lunged at him, forcing MC back with the initial impact. But MC quickly steadied himself, took a firm stance, and with precise timing, struck both of them square in the face with a clean double punch. One of the attackers recovered quickly and tried to wrestle MC down. But despite the force, MC didn't budge. The guy was stunned by his strength. MC was completely unfazed. Without hesitation, MC slammed a brutal kick into his stomach, sending him crashing back. The second guy pulled out a wooden stick and charged. MC caught the weapon with one hand, blocked the attack effortlessly, and drove his fist deep into the guy's gut. The attacker collapsed, gasping for breath and pleading for mercy, saying he surrendered. But MC wasn't feeling generous. He grabbed the guy by the head and slammed another punch into his face, leaving both of them on their knees. Breathing heavy, the two began explaining their plan to bring Pak Hai back to its former state. They insisted not everyone followed Tae-suk, but his influence was massive. One of them asked MC why he wouldn't join them instead. If he helped take down Tae-suk first, he could then challenge their leader, Jo Yo-han, and claim the top position. MC gave them a cold look. He asked if they were seriously suggesting he bow to someone else and join some gang war. He wasn't even sure if that path was what he wanted. With that, MC walked away. Behind him, the 2 guys sat groaning in pain, discussing MC. They admitted that even if there were no fights, their offer wasn't realistic for someone like him. Whether MC hated gang fights or just hated taking orders, they couldn't figure him out. He was simply unpredictable. The next day, inside the classroom, the atmosphere was strange. The teacher continued lecturing, but all eyes were on one student, MC. The entire class was stunned. There he was, the same guy who'd caused chaos yesterday, now sitting quietly, eyes glued to his textbook, focused, studying. Even Siwon, the boy with glasses, was watching him in disbelief. But the moment didn't last long. A few minutes later, MC fell asleep right at his desk. Time passed. MC woke up groggy and looked around, asking what class it was. Siwon told him that it was already lunchtime. Grabbing his head, MC complained that studying was giving him a headache. Then he looked over and casually invited Siwon to grab lunch together. Unbeknownst to him, Tae-suk was watching the whole thing from the back of the classroom, quiet and observant. In the cafeteria, MC sat beside Siwon and told him that just like he suggested, he had decided to become rank 1 by studying. But he admitted it was going to be tough, especially for someone who'd never done it before. Siwon was taken aback and said he wasn't really good at teaching, and his own grades weren't exactly great these days either. But MC wasn't buying it. He told Siwon not to lie. He knew the guy was smart. While they were talking, a spoon suddenly flew through the air and smacked into Siwon. Laughter erupted from a table nearby. Some boys were watching them and mocking MC. One of them called out, "Did you really choose that loser over us?" MC glanced toward them and asked Siwon who they were. Siwon hesitantly replied, "They were close allies of Jo Yo-han." MC sighed, annoyed. He said he'd already fought those guys yesterday. "I'm not in the mood," he muttered, telling Siwon to just eat. Siwon replied, "But I was the one who got hit." MC smirked. "Wasn't me though." That response annoyed the bullies even more. One of them grabbed a milk carton and threw it at MC. Siwon nearly flinched in panic, but MC just caught the carton calmly, opened it, and started pouring the milk over his rice. Then he told Siwon, "Eat." The bullies froze, stunned. That wasn't the reaction they were expecting. As tension rose, someone laughed loudly from nearby. It was a sharp-looking guy who stepped in, amused. "You really are as interesting as the rumors said," he said with a grin. Then he turned to the bullies and told them to sit down quietly. "Why are you getting so worked up?" MC leaned over and asked Siwon, "Who's that guy?" Siwon whispered back. Back when Johan was in charge, he manipulated the grades and hand-picked the 7 strongest students to benefit from the employment system. Even though Tae-suk pushed the rankings, those guys are still elite. He pointed them out. "The guy with the short hair, that's Lee Jung-jin, rank 7. The The guy with long hair, that's Park Hwasu, rank 5. As the bully stood up again, Hwasu snapped. How can one of Johan's underlings speak to me like that? He grabbed a plate, ready to smash it over the guy's head. Youngjin stopped him calmly. Chill out, he'll die if you go that far. Hwasu snorted, dropped the plate, and turned to MC. I'm looking forward to what you'll do next. The bullies turned to MC on their way out, warning him to watch his back. They'd get him next time for sure. MC just grinned. You guys don't need to give farewell speeches before leaving. Once they were gone, he asked Suwon. That guy who threw the milk, how good is he in a fight? Suwon replied. He used to be rank 8, but now, he's known as Johan's right hand. MC asked, what's their leader up to these days? Suwon told him Johan was currently suspended. Suspended? MC repeated. This school doesn't care if students fight in the halls every day, but suspended him? Suwon explained that the incident during his fight with Taesuk crossed a line even the school couldn't ignore. It went beyond what a regular school could handle, he said. But what's more important is, Johan's suspension is almost over. He'll be back soon, and that guy never hesitates to go beyond the line. MC sighed and muttered, then I'll teach that punk what real education looks like. Sihoan was stunned. MC asked, why are you surprised? Then he made him an offer. If you help me study properly, I'll handle the rest. Let's make a deal. Meanwhile, outside school, the same bullies from earlier were sulking behind a building. One of them growled, next time, I'll beat that transfer student for sure. The group discussed how the MC had asked the nerdy guy for help studying, and one member joked about helping him in their own way. Just then, two goons who had previously lost to the MC warned the others not to underestimate him, mentioning that even Class 1 failed to gang up on him. Since opposing Johan's faction means falling under Taesuk's control, the group questioned their next move. Hyungmin suggested leaving the MC alone, and instead turning their attention back to bullying the nerd, only rougher this time. Back in class, Siwon, MC's bespectacled companion, asked him a question that had clearly been bothering him. Why are you really trying to become number 1? MC blinked, caught off guard. He shrugged, saying he only asked for help with studying. Why bring that up now? But Siwon said he had asked the same question yesterday too, and MC had avoided answering. He thought MC didn't care about the employment offer, so if he didn't want to say it, that was fine. At that moment, memories stirred in MC's mind. He recalled a conversation with his uncle, one filled with scolding and disappointment. His uncle had told him to clean up the mess he'd made before walking out of his life, and if he had left on his own 2 feet, he should leave properly. MC exhaled and finally gave Siwon an answer. His goals had shifted recently, he explained. He was starting over, but somewhere along the way, he ended up with a debt of 50 million won. His uncle had made him a deal. If MC became number 1 at Pipak High, he'd wipe the debt clean. Sihuan's eyes widened. That's a huge amount. Your own uncle said that? MC nodded. Sihuan then asked him what he planned to do once he reached the top. There was a pause. MC hesitated, then half-joked, call the school. Sihuan told him straight. Your uncle sent you here in hopes of you getting a job, right? Then you shouldn't be aiming for number 1 just to erase debt. But MC was firm. It doesn't matter. I'm not doing it for the job. I'm doing it because being number 1 makes you the leader. Then he stared at Siwon and asked, so, are you gonna teach me or not? Siwon nodded. He agreed to help, but said he had one condition. Something MC could do in return. Something other than beating up bullies. MC raised a brow. What is it? Siwon told him about an old rule at Pipak High. The leader must follow through on their own policies. So if MC became number 1 and took the role of leader, Sihoan wanted him to abolish the employment system altogether. MC looked skeptical. Can I even do that? Isn't that something the school decided? But Sihoan assured him it was possible. The student leader also served as student representative and could negotiate with the school. Even Johan had ruled the school under that authority. And honestly, the school might welcome the idea of scrapping a system that had long since lost control. MC asked why he didn't just request Taesuk to do it. But Siwon shook his head. He created the system. He made people start studying. He has his reasons. But you don't care about it. That's why I think you can do what the others won't. MC smirked and gave in. All right then. Siwon promised to give it his all. And in return, MC asked why he wanted to destroy the system so badly. Wasn't it offering real chances to the students? Siwon's face darkened. People call us failures, social outcasts. That's what society thinks of Pipak High students. The employment system was built on that belief. Giving us factory jobs sounds kind, but it's the only future they can imagine for us. Why should we live by their expectations? He looked out the window. We can change. We don't need to be ranked. We don't need labels. Everyone deserves an opportunity, not just the top 7. That's the world I want to see at Pipak High. MC stared at him in awe. He wasn't just smart, this guy had vision. Later that evening, MC stood alone on a bridge, lost in thought. A group of students from another school passed nearby, laughing, until they spotted him. Their smiles vanished. Wait, isn't that guy from Pipak High? One of them whispered nervously. They instantly quieted and hurried away. MC sighed. This was the image his school carried. Across the street, he saw a man walking with his son, smiling warmly. That scene triggered a memory, his own twisted childhood. He hadn't been raised like a kid, he'd been forged like a weapon. He recalled Siwon's words. An opportunity to live a life different from the past. By nightfall, MC returned to his apartment, knowing life was only going to get more hectic, studying all day and working all night. As he approached his building, he spotted a familiar girl from earlier, leaning against the wall with a cigarette in her hand. Without saying a word, he walked past her. She stopped him. "Hey, got a light?" MC replied bluntly. "I don't smoke," but then told her to follow him. Inside his room, he lit her cigarette using the gas burner. She complained, "Ugh, this stinks, it's all burnt now, and it was my last one." Just then, the landlady burst in. "What's that smell? Who's smoking in my kitchen?" Before the girl could point at him, MC was already ahead of her, silently pointing at her. Her jaw dropped. "You little—" MC slipped away while she argued with the landlady, ignoring her curses from behind. The next day, MC entered the classroom and greeted everyone cheerfully. Good day to study, but Siwon's seat was empty. As MC looked around, someone called out to him. "Hey, you're the transfer student, right?" MC turned and froze. The boy didn't look like Siwon, but his features were similar. "Are you his doppelganger?" MC joked. "Where's the original?" The boy replied solemnly. "I'm his friend. Siwon's in the hospital." MC's expression dropped. The boy explained that they were supposed to meet after school, but Siwon never showed. He waited, then searched the school, only to find Hee Ong-min and his gang beating Siwon to a pulp. Siwon had begged him not to tell MC, but he couldn't keep it to himself. Later at the hospital, MC sat quietly beside Siwon's bed. The boy greeted him weakly, pretending everything was fine. "Just an accident," he said. "I fell down the stairs." MC looked him in the eye and told him to stop lying. His friend had already spilled everything. He asked, "Why did Hee Ong-min threaten you not to tell me?" Siwon apologized. "I promised to teach you, but now I'm just lying here." MC told him to stop. Everyone's busy talking about studying and leadership, but behind the scenes, this school is still trash. The so-called leader doesn't care at all. It's laughable. Then he asked again, "Do you really think getting rid of the employment system will fix all this? You think scum like Hyungmin will ever change?" Sihawan stayed silent. "Shouldn't you at least be mad?" MC asked. That broke something inside him. Siwon shouted, tears welling in his eyes. "Of course I'm angry. I wanted everyone to live normal school lives." He cried harder. "I hate them. I hate that I can't fight back. I'm weak, but if I change the way I think because of them, it feels like I've lost twice. So no, I'm not changing." MC listened, then let out a quiet laugh. "You're seriously stubborn, huh?" He patted Siwon's head and said, "I liked you for a reason. You've got guts. That's why I get it. But just holding it in sometimes makes it worse. It's okay to be mad. It's normal to feel angry when things are unfair." As he stood up to leave, Siwon asked, "What are you going to do?" MC's expression turned cold. "Take out the trash." Siwon begged him not to fight, but MC corrected him. "Don't get it twisted. I'm not doing it for you. I'm just pissed they're disturbing my studies. I'm the kind who gets revenge." Back at school, Hyungmin and his gang were laughing about what they did to Siwon. "Man, he was begging us to stop. That nerd's a joke." But one of their members wasn't laughing. He kept glancing around nervously. "What's wrong with you?" Hyungmin asked. The guy replied, "I've been thinking about that transfer student. He'll definitely come for revenge. And aren't we being a bit too carefree?" Hyungmin waved him off, grinning. "That guy won't even know Siwon's in the hospital," he added with a smirk. "Besides, I already know where his family lives. I've got their numbers too." He won't say a word, but just as they laughed, their expressions froze. They spotted someone standing behind Hyungmin. Hyungmin turned. "Huh? What's with your faces? You look like you've seen a—" He stopped mid-sentence. MC was standing there. His glare was cold, his silence louder than any threat. He turned, only to see a hand already flying at his face. MC had arrived. Without a word, MC slammed Hyungmin's head straight into the ground, cracking the silence with a violent thud. "You messed with the wrong guy," MC said coldly. But even as his face hit the dirt, Hyungmin managed a twisted grin and replied, "No, you messed with the wrong guy." He gestured behind MC. MC glanced over his shoulder and saw what Hyungmin meant. A group of students had surrounded him. 10, maybe more, all of them part of Hyungmin's crew. "Get him," Hyungmin ordered, but before any of them could reach MC, he slammed Hyungmin's head into the ground a second time, knocking him unconscious. The first thug charged forward, only to be dropped instantly when MC delivered a brutal punch directly to his groin. The rest of the gang rushed in together. MC didn't back down. He leapt into the air, flipping above them, and landed squarely on another boy, pinning him to the ground. In a frenzy of motion, he struck back at everyone who got close, dodging, countering, hitting back harder. Fists flew, bones cracked, but MC didn't go down. Their so-called leader, still groggy on the floor, looked up in disbelief. "How is he standing? I thought this guy got knocked out with a single punch by Taesuk." The commotion caught the attention of two bystanders. It was Lee Jungjin and Park Hwasu, the short-haired and long-haired upper rankers from earlier. They stood a short distance away, silently observing the chaos. Hwasu, the long-haired one, turned to Gukyeon and asked, "Aren't you going to stop this? Isn't that more your style?" Gukyan crossed his arms and replied casually, "There are too many rumors about this guy. I want to see it for myself." Back in the fight, MC was still going strong. He grabbed two thugs by their hair and smashed their faces together like cymbals. An older-looking student lunged at him from behind, locking his arms around MC's torso, but MC kicked backwards, catching him off guard, then twisted his body and delivered another devastating blow directly to the guy's groin. Another attacker landed a punch, sending MC stumbling back. He fell into a student who was holding a steel lunch cup. MC didn't waste a second. He snatched the cup from the boy's hands and turned it into a weapon. As more thugs surrounded him, MC shouted, "Come on, all at once." They charged. MC didn't hesitate. He began bashing heads, cracking noses, and flattening anyone who dared get close. With every swing of that steel cup, more bodies hit the ground. That's when Hyungmin's right-hand man, now bloodied and desperate, pulled out a hidden knife. His eyes wild with rage, he lunged at MC, screaming, "You're dead today." But MC grabbed his wrist mid-swing, stopping the blade in its tracks. "A knife? Really?" MC growled. "You gonna use a weapon like that against me?" In one smooth motion, he yanked the thug forward and smashed the steel cup straight into his skull. The impact echoed across the courtyard, and the crowd froze. The gang, once so cocky, now stood stunned. No one dared move. Just as MC was about to finish the thug off with another swing, a voice cut through the silence. "That's enough." MC turned. It was Gukyun. Gukyun, ranked number 3, stepped in to defuse the situation. Though he admitted he didn't side with someone who pulled a knife, he questioned MC for going as far as breaking his wrist. "You're pushing it too far," he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. Then turning to the crowd, he barked, "You all should be ashamed. A whole group jumping one guy and still losing? Pathetic. Go back to your classes." MC released his grip and looked at Gukyun with annoyance. "Who do you think you are? A teacher? A cop?" "I'm Gukyun, class 3, he replied calmly. But MC didn't care. Without hesitation, he grabbed the nearby cup and struck Hyungmin. Gukyun quickly responded by grabbing MC by the collar. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" Gukyun snapped. MC coolly replied, "Cleaning up your leader's trash. Someone has to." Gukyun asked what that even meant. MC pointed at the school's system, the absurd idea that ranks should be based on studying. If Taesuk made that rule, then he should take responsibility. Instead, only the rule followers were suffering, turning into shells of themselves. That's why MC declared he'd take over soon and change it all. "You're saying you're going to follow the rules now?" Gukyun asked. MC smirked. "I'm just throwing out the garbage. Once it's clean, maybe I'll consider it." Gukyun scoffed, saying MC treated this like a game. "If you really are following the system, then go study in silence." But MC wasn't backing down. "Don't get it twisted. I'll take Taesuk down in studies and then destroy the employment system. That's my goal." His declaration shocked the nearby students. "Get rid of it? What is he talking about?" MC turned to them. "This school went to shit because of the obsession with rankings. You guys pretending to be tough while playing student politics. It doesn't suit any of you. If you've got a problem, come at me." Gukyun stepped in again. "You're naive. Less than half the school even follows Taesuk. Being number 1 won't guarantee leadership." MC rolled his eyes. "Then stop wasting my time and come at me." But Gukyun kept pushing. "This isn't a simple fight. Bakhai is in a cold war. If the system reverts, people will start fighting again for jobs, because not everyone can afford to lose that opportunity. The employment system isn't perfect, but it's survival for some. You can't remove it just because you're the leader." He then glanced at the other top ranks and laid down a challenge. "If you want to be acknowledged, take down everyone from rank 7 to 3. And of course, beat Taesuk in academics. That's the only way." MC scoffed. "So I have to prove myself your way? What is this, a teen drama?" Even Danny cut in mockingly. "Quit acting like you're doing us a favor, half-fried hair." Gukyun warned MC again. "I'm not like the trash you just beat up. I'm on another level." MC laughed, then launched an attack with the cup. But Gukyun blocked it with a powerful kick. Flashback begins. In a quiet classroom, Taesuk sat studying as Gukyun confronted him about the leadership selection system based on academic performance. "What happens when Johan comes back?" Gukyun asked. "It's not about him. It's about the forces behind him. You can't push vegetarianism on carnivores. These students only know how to fight. We need to unify before the split destroys everything." Taesuk raised an eyebrow. "Unify? These thugs?" Gukyun insisted that fixing the system wasn't enough. Taesuk needed to enforce it. The employment system was too controversial. Johan wasn't the only one who had issues with it. But before they could continue, a student interrupted, reminding them it was self-study time. Gukyun, annoyed, grabbed the guy's arm and threatened to kill him, causing the student to back off immediately. Looking back at Taesuk, Gukyun made one final plea. "Your class following the rules won't be enough. The school is splitting. If Johan returns, we'll be swallowed whole." Taesuk leaned back coldly. "That's all you've got? Then get out." As Gukyun turned to leave, he thought to himself, "No doubt Taesuk is the strongest, but he's not fit to lead." Then his thoughts drifted to MC. Maybe he's the one who can. Back in the present, Gukyun asked MC directly, "So what's your move? Are you doing it my way?" MC casually sat on one of the unconscious bullies and replied with a smirk, "Why would I? What are you guys plotting? Gukyan said not everyone at P-Pak High was a monster. You should be grateful. Your goal just got easier. But MC didn't buy it. Feels like a cheap setup, and honestly, beating you guys one by one sounds easier than a group brawl. That got under their skin. They stood up, irritated. Gukyan clenched his fists. Fine, but it won't be easy. MC smirked again. Bring it on. Just be ready to get picked off. One by one. Later that night, in a busy restaurant filled with chatter and sizzling pans, Tae-suk was working part-time as a waiter. The shop owner reminded him to hand over a package when the delivery guy arrived. Soon, the door opened, and both boys froze. MC had arrived, eyes locking onto Tae-suk. They hadn't expected to run into each other like this, but fate clearly had other plans. After seeing Tae-suk working in the restaurant, the MC couldn't help but burst into laughter. With a smirk, he mockingly asked if anyone at school even knew that Tae-suk had a part-time job here. Irritated, Tae-suk told him to shut up and just make his delivery. But the MC laughed again, saying it was his last delivery for the night anyway. And with a cocky grin, he told Tae-suk to enjoy working his ass off in the meantime. Tae-suk rolled his eyes and told him to stop yapping, but the MC kept going. Casually, he mentioned that he ran into Gukyan earlier. Then, with a shift in tone, he got serious. He declared he'd made up his mind. He was going to fight every strong student in the school one-on-one, including Tae-suk. He even suggested that Tae-suk should just hand over his position now and save himself the trouble. As the MC turned to leave, the shop owner suddenly stopped him and asked if he was Tae-suk's friend. She introduced herself as Tae-suk's mother. Grabbing the MC gently by the arm, she smiled and said that Tae-suk never talked about having any friends. Referencing what he'd said earlier, she asked if this really was his last delivery of the night. For a moment, the MC panicked, thinking she might have overheard everything, but instead, she handed him a bag of food, explaining that a customer had canceled the order. He could take it home. With a cheerful tone, she asked how long they had been friends. Right then, Tae-suk interrupted, telling his mom he needed to head out. As the MC stepped outside, he turned back and thanked her. Quietly, he thought to himself, Tae-suk was different from what he'd imagined. Back at his apartment complex, the MC ran into the girl from earlier, Kang Yena. She paused, glancing at him suspiciously. In her mind, she wondered what was up with his face. Did he think he was some kind of gangster? Deciding nothing good would come from dealing with someone like him, she quickly tried to walk past. Meanwhile, the MC unwrapped his free dinner. It was too much to eat alone. Just then, he noticed her rushing toward the building and called out, asking if she wanted some. But she bolted for her room. He chased after her, confused about why she was running away. As she tried to slam her door shut, he caught it and pushed it open slightly, asking if she'd seen a ghost or something. Breathing heavily, she shot back. Wasn't it obvious? She was the one who got in trouble with the landlady yesterday for smoking outside the door. She clarified that she wasn't actually smoking, just testing her lighter. But it was still a pain to explain the misunderstanding. Taking the chance, the MC said that's exactly why he came, to apologize. He offered to treat her to dinner if she hadn't eaten yet. She yelled, asking who wouldn't have had dinner this late, and did he really think she'd forgive him just like that? But her stomach betrayed her. It growled. Blushing, she muttered that maybe she could eat just a little. While eating together, she asked for his name, then introduced herself as Kang Yena. She mentioned that she went to Northeast Gangbuk High. When she asked where he studied, he told her, Pak High. She blinked and said, that's a strange name for a school. Judging by her accent, the MC asked if she was from Busan. She replied she was from Gim High, just next to it, and had recently transferred here. When he asked if she moved for studies, she said that was part of it, but there were other reasons too. He asked if she was good at studying, and she proudly said she'd been the top student at her school in Gim High. She even offered to show her report card. That's when something clicked for the MC. He paused for a moment, then asked if she could teach him. Yena was surprised. The MC proposed a deal. They'd have study sessions every night at the same time, and in return, he'd pay for her dinner each day. She hesitated. Why? Is it urgent? She asked. He sighed, saying it was hard to explain, but did it really matter? She'd be saving money on food, so why not? It might have sounded random, but surprisingly, Yena agreed. He laughed, saying she was quick to decide. He thought she'd be more suspicious. But she replied, didn't you just say I don't have a reason to decline? She extended her hand to seal the deal and said, let's get along from now on. The MC told her it would only be for a short while. Back at school, Si-hwan returned with his arm still in a cast. He wondered how the MC had been doing lately. As he walked, he bumped into Hyung-min, the same bully who used to torment him. But this time, something was off. Surrounded by the usual troublemakers, Si-hwan braced himself for another confrontation. Instead, they apologized. They admitted their past mistakes and said they'd pay for his hospital bills and tutoring. They swore never to bother him again. Si-hwan stood there, stunned. What the hell had changed? As they turned to leave, Hyung-min grumbled under his breath, saying, that should be enough, right? But right then, something hit him square in the back. He turned around. It was a cup, thrown by none other than the MC. Later in class, Siwon was stunned again when he heard that the MC had agreed to fight the top 7 ranked students one-on-one. The MC explained that if he wanted to abolish the employment system, this was the only way: defeat them and prove his worth. He glanced over at Tae-suk and said this was their way of welcoming a new leader. Siwon asked why he was going so far, especially when he himself couldn't help MC study with his injured hand. But the MC assured him it was fine. He'd already found someone to cover. When asked again why he was going this far, the MC said it was simple. If he was going to do something, he'd do it right. He didn't want to go back on his word. This was a promise, and breaking it wouldn't be cool. Before leaving, the MC asked Siwon for help. He needed some intel. Since Siwon was always up to date with school gossip, he figured he'd know something. The MC said that between the 7th and 8th rankers, there couldn't be that big a difference, right? But Siwon quickly corrected him. Starting from rank 7, the skill gap was huge. He reminded the MC about a guy he might have seen during lunch, Lee Jungjin. He was on the judo team, and despite his handsome face, he had a brutal reputation. There was even an incident where Jungjin lost a match, then beat up an entire opposing judo team by himself. The scene shifted to a flashback. The night of Jungjin's last match, everyone was out eating and celebrating when Jungjin suddenly showed up at the gate. Without warning, he charged in and began pummeling the rival school's athletes all by himself. In a single, brutal rampage, he left them half dead. Back in class, the MC looked bored after hearing the story. He sarcastically said, "Oh my god, I'm so scared," and asked which class Jungjin was in. When Siwon said class 3, the MC stood up and walked out. Everyone stared, wondering where he was going. Siwon panicked, trying to stop him. "You can't just go fight him. Do you even have a plan?" he asked. The MC turned back and asked, "What happened to the guy who told me I was strong? That I was the real number 1? Was that all flattery?" Siwon protested, saying it wasn't. But Jungjin wasn't even at school. When asked where he was, Siwon pulled out a notebook. He had actually recorded the weekly schedules of the top 7. According to his notes, Jungjin would be at the judo club around this time. At the judo dojo, Jungjin was sitting and panting when his instructor smacked him. "What are you doing here again? Your father's worried sick because you never go to school." Another woman in the dojo scolded the master, saying there was no need to hit him. Words were enough. Jungjin muttered that there was no point in going to school. Even if he graduated, he still wouldn't get employed. Just then, noise came from outside. Sihoan tried to stop the MC from barging in. The MC told him this was the perfect opportunity to scout Jungjin's fighting style, and he also needed Sihoan to spread the word once he beat him. Inside, a few members asked if the MC was there to join. He replied, "No, I'm here to challenge this place." The MC told them confidently that his companion could take all of them down. They scoffed at the claim and grabbed Sihuan, mocking him for only having one arm. Was this kid seriously supposed to fight them? As Sihuan screamed in panic, the MC calmly told him to take care of it for him. MC called out to Jungjin, saying he probably understood the gist of what Gukyun had said. They should get this over with. Jungjin, now annoyed, stood up and asked, "What do you think you're doing?" The master interrupted, asking the MC why he was causing a scene. The MC introduced himself as someone from the student disciplinary committee and said he came to beat up Jungjin for skipping school and slacking off. The master turned to Jungjin and asked if that was true. Jungjin reluctantly admitted it. The MC then criticized him, saying he dared to keep coming here after beating up all those people at the restaurant. "Whose life are you trying to ruin with judo now?" he asked. Jungjin got fired up, ready to attack, but his master stopped him. The old man noticed the MC's physique, scarred, muscular, disciplined. Was this really a high schooler? He sighed and said they should settle it here. Jungjin was about to say something, but his master cut in, saying that from what he'd overheard earlier, a fight was inevitable anyway. So instead of brawling in the streets, they might as well settle it here. Jungjin hesitated and replied that fighting inside the dojo felt like a bit much. But the master reminded him whose dojo this was. He added that this whole situation was happening because Jungjin had been going around picking fights instead of focusing on his studies, and a man should take responsibility for his actions. Better to handle it cleanly now, had said, before it snowballs into bigger trouble. The MC was clearly pleased to hear that. Then the master turned to him with a condition. If the MC lost, he'd have to join the dojo, train there every day, and represent them as an athlete. No membership fees, just full commitment. "How about it?" he asked with a smirk. The MC snapped back. "Cut the crap, old man." Someone from the dojo asked why they'd even want a guy like him, but the master calmly replied, "Isn't it good to have one more member?" The MC agreed, but added his own condition. If he won, Jungjin wouldn't be allowed to enter this dojo ever again. "Isn't it a problem letting him train here after what he's done?" he said. The master agreed. He told Jungjin that whether it was him or his father, someone had to stop him from wasting his life. Then he asked, "Are you going to fight or not?" Jungjin nodded. The MC grinned. "Hilarious. Should I start writing your farewell letter?" The master interrupted, warning the MC not to underestimate Jungjin. He was a real athlete. None of the other fighters had been able to beat him. Sehwan, standing at the edge of the mat, silently hoped MC knew what he was doing. The match was to be MMA style. The referee clarified, This wasn't a street fight. If anything got out of hand, he'd stop it immediately. The fighters prepared. The MC taunted Jungjin. "Mr. Athlete, don't hold back, just like you didn't with those other guys." And the moment the referee signaled the start, the MC dashed forward and slammed a punch right into Jungjin's face. Everyone froze in shock, even Jungjin. Jungjin collapsed to the mat, dazed. He looked up just in time to dodge a brutal kick from the MC, who taunted him again, saying, "You really don't seem like much of an athlete." The referee immediately blew the whistle, scolding the MC for the illegal move. "Didn't I say this was under MMA rules? That kick was against the rules." The MC scoffed and asked, "And who are you to decide that?" "I'm the referee, bastard," the man snapped. The judo master, standing at the edge of the ring, was a bit taken aback. He hadn't expected the MC to be this gutsy. For a moment, he wondered, was everyone from Pak High this bold? As the referee argued with the MC, Jungjin suddenly spoke up. He said it was fine, and told them to just restart the match. The referee was reluctant, but the master waved it off. "Let the boys handle it themselves," he said calmly. As soon as the match resumed, the MC rushed in and unleashed a rapid flurry of punches, following up with a quick kick. He then landed a hard right to Jungjin's face. Before Jungjin could respond, the MC switched angles, slipped behind him, and drove his knee into Jungjin's stomach. Jungjin fell again. Laughing, the MC moved in for another blow. He lifted his leg for another kick, but then stopped short, only to slam his elbow straight down onto Jungjin's throat, pinning him to the ground. Sihuan, watching from the sidelines, was in shock. The fight was completely one-sided. He wondered, just what kind of life had the MC lived to become this strong? But just when it seemed like it was over, Jungjin gathered his strength and delivered a desperate punch straight to the MC's face, knocking him back slightly. The MC wiped the blood from his lip and grinned. "That's more like it. Still alive, huh? Got good stamina at least. But something's still missing. Not that it matters, it'll be over soon." He charged again, throwing punches from all angles. This time, Jungjin dodged and blocked with more focus, managing to hold his ground for a while. But eventually, one of the MC's punches connected again, rocking his jaw. From the side, the judo master watched closely. The MC's style wasn't clean, but it was effective, ruthless and practical. He didn't care for what was legal or proper. It made him wonder, had this kid grown up in real street fights? Maybe even with weapons? Could he really have lived a life like that? Was he from the mafia? And now the question was, what would Jungjin do? If this kept up, he was going to lose. Jungjin lunged forward and tried to grab the MC, but got headbutted instead. The MC taunted him again, suggesting he should probably give up on judo and focus on studying. Suddenly, Jungjin froze. Something snapped in his head. His eyes went blank as a sudden flashback hit him. He instinctively reached out to grab MC's hand, triggering gasps from everyone around. But just before he could fully use the move, he stopped himself. He refused to rely on it. In that hesitation, MC's punch landed cleanly, and Jungjin collapsed to the floor. MC chuckled and said, "That technique, you don't even know how to use it, do you? Or maybe, you just didn't want to." Jungjin froze. Something snapped in his head. A flashback surged through him. Back in the past, Jungjin was walking through school when a group of girls stopped him. They wished him luck for his upcoming match and handed him a bunch of gifts. One girl asked if he had any plans for the weekend, hoping he'd hang out with them. But after a moment of thought, Jungjin politely refused. He needed to prepare for his next match. Nearby, a student muttered, asking why they were even interested in him. He mocked Jungjin, saying all he ever did was smile stupidly and live at the dojo. But one of the girls defended him. Still, she said, "Isn't it cool that he has a goal?" At the dojo, the members were happily enjoying the gifts brought by the girls for Jungjin. The master smiled and told Jungjin not to come to the dojo before his match. It wasn't that he doubted Jungjin's dedication, he just didn't want him to overwork himself. After all, Jungjin wasn't new to competitions and deserved a little rest. The master chuckled, teasing him. "Could it be you're still nervous, even with skills like yours?" He added that Jungjin was in great shape and reminded him to look after his father too. Later, back at home, Jungjin was asleep until he was awakened by a noise. When he stepped out to check, he saw his father. His father asked, "Did I wake you up?" But Jungjin replied that he had already been up for a while. His father mentioned he had heard about the upcoming competition and simply told him to rest well. As he walked away, Jungjin silently watched his father's back, something he had seen many times before, especially during the tough times. Jungjin reflected, back when the family business was collapsing and when his mother left without a word, his father had never once shown his emotions. He had always kept his struggles hidden. Jungjin wasn't good at studying, just like his father had once told him about himself. Maybe that's why his dad was afraid Jungjin would follow the same path. But even so, all he ever did was silently show his back. That's why Jungjin wanted to succeed, not just for himself, but to repay his father's quiet, enduring efforts. In this scene, Jungjin snapped out of his trance and returned to his senses. Confused and shaken, he wondered what just happened. He had promised himself that he wouldn't disappoint his father. He had resolved to be better. But before he could gather his thoughts, one of the guys he'd beaten up started cursing at him, yelling that Jungjin had turned his face into a mess just because of one loss. The guy told Jungjin he was just using his father as an excuse, that he had always been a selfish bastard from the start. Then with a mocking tone, he added there was one thing he was still curious about. You don't even do judo anymore, so why do you keep showing up at the dojo? He went on, saying his own face had been messed up by Jungjin, and asked if Jungjin now carried regrets. As he spoke, his figure distorted, turning into a shadowy form, and he lunged at Jungjin, demanding, "Are you just putting on a show?" But Jungjin countered the attack with clarity in his voice, saying, "It's not a show." Then came the echo of many shadowy voices, all throwing questions at him. Not a show? Then why do you keep pushing forward? Why keep tripping people with the judo you claim to love so much? They swarmed him with doubt and blame until a loud voice suddenly cut through. It was his master, shouting his name, pulling him back to reality. Jungjin snapped out of his thoughts to reality. The MC stood across from him, a little winded. He muttered that Jungjin was surprisingly tough to knock down. "It's honestly tiring. Is there any point in continuing? This fight's already over," he said, clearly disappointed. He had expected more from someone who called himself an athlete. Instead, all he saw was an unfilial brat. Turning away, the MC called out to Sihwan, saying they should leave. But before he could walk off, the judo master stopped him. "The fight's not over yet," he said calmly. That's when Jungjin exploded. He yelled at the MC, asking who he thought he was to act like he understood everything. "Sprouting all that bullshit, acting like you've got it all figured out. You're just a thug without dreams or responsibilities. You have no idea how I feel right now." The MC turned around, scoffing. "Dreams? Responsibilities?" he mocked. "You're the one acting, not me. Stop pretending that this is about something pure. You just ran away and dressed it up with pity." The MC scoffed and said coldly, "I feel bad for your parents." That struck a nerve. With a furious roar, Jungjin charged. The MC dodged his first swing, but Jungjin grabbed him from behind and executed a perfect judo throw, slamming him hard onto the mat. As the MC lay there groaning, he suddenly let out a loud laugh, followed by a yell. "Damn, that hurt." The judo master, watching closely, was shocked. It had been over a year since Jungjin last properly trained, but the technique he'd just displayed was flawless. Had he never truly given up? Still grinning, the MC coughed. "So you do know judo after all. But what's with that dumbfounded look? You slammed me like a pro." Jungjin responded quietly, "It's not a move to be used on a thug like you." The MC scoffed again. "Man, I was actually starting to think you were worth fighting. But why do you keep acting so stupid? Isn't this a test? A chance to prove yourself? Or do you think I came here just to mess around? You looking down on me?" Before Jungjin could respond, the master stepped in. "Enough. You two still going to keep playing this out?" He reminded Jungjin of the condition. If he wanted to cut ties with the dojo, he had to give up judo, forever. "Are you really okay with that?" he asked. "Why are you still chained to the past? Let it out now, like you always do. This could be your last time." Jungjin lowered his eyes for a moment, then raised his head. Looking at the MC, he declared, "I have no intention of making this my last. So now, I'm coming at you with everything I've got." The MC's eyes lit up. "That's what I've been waiting for." The second round began, this time far more intense. The MC swung with precision, but Jungjin dodged, grabbed him, and slammed him to the ground once again. The crowd around the dojo erupted in excitement. Jungjin climbed on top and began throwing heavy punches, but the MC, now underneath, started blocking every hit. He kicked Jungjin from underneath and even spat in his eye, causing the referee to shout, "No cheating." "I'm not cheating," the MC grinned. "I'm doing my best." The tide of the battle shifted again. Jungjin quickly switched positions, grabbing MC's hand and locking his arm around his leg. But MC reacted just as fast. He reached across with his other hand and clutched his own wrist tightly, trying to resist the hold. Meanwhile, the women's in the crowd were shouting for Jungjin, which started to distract MC. Frustrated, MC shouted towards Sihwan, asking what he was doing and if he wanted his arm torn off, then told him to start cheering too. But just as Sihwan opened his mouth to shout, he was suddenly blocked by a group of large guys. After a fierce struggle, MC finally managed to break free from Jungjin's grip and landed a punch straight to his face. But Jungjin recovered instantly. He grabbed MC again, planted his foot on his chest, and launched him into the air with a powerful throw. As MC staggered back, Jungjin spotted an opening and charged in. He landed a punch, and as he continued his assault, thoughts raced through his mind. He couldn't let down the people he cared about, his father, or himself. He had to stand strong. And just then, both of them launched punches at the same time. As Jungjin and the MC traded heavy blows, Jungjin narrowly dodged a punch coming at him, but it was a feint. In that moment of vulnerability, the MC's knee shot up and smashed into Jungjin's chin, nearly knocking him out cold. Disoriented, Jungjin teetered, his vision fading, but he clenched his teeth, determined not to lose. "Just one more chance," he thought desperately. That's when his father's face flashed in his mind. With a burst of resolve, Jungjin reached out to grab the MC's wrist, attempting a judo throw. But the MC had already anticipated it. He jumped twisting midair and broke Jungjin's momentum, slamming him down instead. Jungjin hit the ground hard. He groaned and tried to stand, but the MC had already circled behind him. Maybe chances like this were always there, the MC said calmly. You just never noticed. And with that, he drove a punch straight into Jungjin's face. As Jungjin reeled, a memory surged back. Another match, another crowd. In the flashback, Jungjin was dominating his opponent in a judo tournament. Onlookers whispered about him being undefeated. One of them, wearing a green jacket, muttered to another student that they should teach Jungjin what it's like to lose. Not because he was worried, no, but because it was time the kid learned respect. Later, Jungjin found himself ambushed behind the gym by those same students. They beat him down, asking why he was so stubborn and couldn't just lose once to pay respect to his seniors. When Jungjin asked what they meant by losing on purpose, one of them kicked him in the stomach. Even if we're from different schools, you should still listen to your seniors, he sneered. Another one, trying to act diplomatic, told Jungjin not to take it personally. You're the ace. It's fine to lose one match, right? Just show some respect. But when the match came, Jungjin didn't hold back. He threw the green jacket guy to the floor in a brutal takedown. Looking down at him, he said coldly, "If you want to be my senior, act like one." The crowd gasped. One of the senior students started laughing, saying he knew things would turn out like this, so he'd already made preparations in advance. The guy who had just lost to Jungjin suddenly began laughing hysterically, clutching his arm and yelling that his left arm hurt like hell. Everyone, including the referee, looked shocked. Moments later, the referee made an announcement that stunned the crowd. Jungjin was disqualified for committing a foul. Jungjin's master argued, but the damage was done. The seniors smirked from the sidelines, clearly pleased with how things turned out. Later, the same group was seen laughing together, bragging about how they pulled it off. One of them revealed that they had connections with the Judo Association's head, and the officials ignored the video review altogether. It's too early to stop, one of them said smugly. Let's teach him what happens to kids without power or connections who act out. That night, Jungjin returned home. His father sat in silence, alone in the corner of the room. The scene cut to a bar, where those same bullies were drinking and joking around. Suddenly, the door swung open. Jungjin stepped inside. He stared at them, fists clenched. Why? Why did you have to go this far? He asked. One of the seniors stood up and slapped him hard across the face. Like father, like son, neither of you knows your place, he spat. He revealed that Jungjin's father had once worked under his father's company. When he found out Jungjin also did judo, he mocked Jungjin's dad for trying to cozy up, pretending they had something in common. Then, he made it personal. Since it's time for company restructuring anyway, he sneered, I thought I'd help out, like a good son. Jungjin froze. He had fired his father, just to teach him a lesson. Furious, Jungjin clenched his fists, but the green jacket guy grabbed him by the collar. That's no way to talk to your seniors. As he swung to punch, Jungjin dodged, grabbed his arm, and slammed him into the floor. Chaos erupted. Jungjin launched a brutal counterattack, taking them down one by one. The last man standing, the ringleader, trembled. Well, wait, let's talk this out. But Jungjin, seething, stepped forward. Too late. Today, you're dead. The guy grabbed a broken bottle and lunged, but Jungjin dodged again and slammed him face first onto a burning hot table. His skin sizzled in agony. The scene then shifted to the police station. All the parents of the boys Jungjin had fought were gathered there, angrily pointing fingers. They accused Jungjin of beating their sons like a monster, demanding justice. One of them stepped forward and shouted at him, telling him to bring his parents immediately. Moments later, Jungjin's father entered, alongside the father of the green jacket guy. Jungjin rushed over, but his father slapped him across the face. As the tension in the room grew thicker, all the parents began accusing Jungjin's father, claiming that his son had brutally beaten their innocent children. Jungjin tried to defend himself, but his father cut him off, telling him to stay quiet. He turned to the angry crowd and bowed his head, sincerely apologizing. He said it was his fault for not raising his son properly, and promised to guide him better from now on. My son only knows judo, he pleaded. Please forgive him. But the parents weren't satisfied. One of them snapped, Do you think this can be brushed off with an apology? The president of Jungjin's father's company stepped forward, the same man whose son had suffered burns during the fight. You are already fired, and now your son will have a criminal record too, he said coldly. Jungjin's father dropped to his knees, begging for forgiveness. He admitted it was his fault, that he should have raised his son better. But the president wasn't moved. He coldly asked, Is that really all you've got? You must not care much about what happens to your kid, huh? Lowering his head in shame, Jungjin's father apologized again. Turning to his manager, he admitted he hadn't been thinking straight. He promised to prepare the settlement money and cover the hospital fees, anything, as long as they didn't ruin his son's future. That was the moment Jungjin's heart sank. Watching his father lower himself like that, he felt nothing but guilt and shame. Back in the present, Jungjin fought MC with everything he had. As fists flew, flashes of his past flooded his mind. He remembered his conversation with his judo master, who had once asked him why he never participated in competitions anymore. The restaurant fight was ruled as self-defense, the master had said. The CCTV footage cleared your name. There's nothing holding you back now, so why not start again? But Jungjin had refused. I don't come here to train. I just have nowhere else to go after school, he had said. I'll never do judo again. Now, in the heat of the present battle, MC's punches landed hard as memories of his downfall replayed like a nightmare. He remembered how his street fight had made the news. People had judged him, labeled him a monster. He remembered someone once saying, "If you study hard at that school, you'll get a good job." And then, the memory of his father calling out to him just as he was leaving for school. He had turned to look, but his father said nothing, just like always. Maybe the opportunity was always there. Maybe he wasn't waiting for me to fail. Maybe he was silently fighting for me all along. In the present, another punch from MC landed clean on Jungjin's jaw, sending him crashing to the mat. The match was over. The MC had won. The dojo went silent. MC calmly removed his gloves and began putting his school uniform back on. Just as he was about to leave, the judo master stepped forward. As promised, the master said, "Jungjin is banned from this dojo. I'll make sure he never trains judo again. Not here, not anywhere." MC turned to leave, but Jungjin called out to him. "What now? You want a rematch or something?" MC asked. "Are you some kind of zombie?" But instead of answering, Jungjin asked, "The opportunity you talked about earlier, what did you mean by that?" MC let out a sigh. "Why ask me? You should already know what it is." He turned to leave again, but once more, Jungjin stopped him. Before he could say anything, the master stepped in. "Forget it, a man should keep his word. Now hurry up and get out." But MC suddenly paused. "Let him stay," he said casually. "I don't get anything out of him quitting judo." Everyone looked surprised. MC added, "Just pretend I didn't say anything. There's no big reason behind it. It's just that no one can probably stop him anymore, right?" He looked Jungjin in the eye. "Ain't that right?" Jungjin smirked. "Yeah." Siwon, watching from the sidelines, was completely lost. "What just happened?" he muttered, scratching his head as he left, laughing to himself. The other dojo members and even the master exchanged glances. Despite the chaos, they couldn't help but admit it. That kid wasn't so bad after all. Jungjin collapsed to the floor, completely exhausted. His master scolded him. "Trying to act tough when you can't even stand straight? So what now?" Jungjin slowly looked up and smiled. "First, I want to call my dad." Back at school, the news of Jungjin's defeat spread like wildfire, faster than gossip in a neighborhood auntie's circle. Some students were stunned, others skeptical. One long-haired guy scolded Jungjin, asking why he didn't use his judo. "How can you lose to that hoodlum?" But Jungjin calmly replied, "That guy, he's not as bad as he looks." The other guy snapped, "How can you be so chill right now?" Meanwhile, the scene shifted as Gukyun approached the student ranked number 6. He called out to him, saying, "You must have heard the news, right? Number 7 just lost. That means you're up next." The student calmly closed his book, unfazed. "It was obvious he'd lose," he replied. Then with a cold smirk, he added, "Looks like it's time I educate that transfer student myself." His name, Choi Dong-hwan. Siwon was rambling non-stop again. This time, about Choi Dong-hwan. According to him, Choi was the biggest guy in the entire school. Physically massive, the kind who looked like a pro wrestler. There were even rumors that he used to be a hired thug, different from the usual delinquents at Peapak High. Annoyed, the MC grabbed Siwon's face and squished it. "Did I ask for his full biography? Just give me the key points." Everyone around turned to look, wondering what the commotion was about. Siwon finally got to the point. Choi used wrestling techniques, mimicking moves he'd seen on TV. He wasn't exactly pro-level, but with his size and strength, he was still plenty dangerous. The MC asked the most important question. Did he have any weaknesses? Siwon scratched his head. Physically none, but emotionally, the guy's obsessed with girls. The MC squished his face again. Okay, I'm not lying," Siwon yelped. He once cried for 3 days straight after getting rejected by a part-timer at a convenience store, and he didn't even know her name properly. That made the MC pause for a second. "Any other quirks?" he asked. Siwon nodded, flipping through his notebook. "Before you fought Jungjin, I looked into that incident too. Turns out it was ruled as self-defense, and there was even proof the other party cheated." The MC sighed. "So, Choi Dong-hwan's just a meathead with a tragic love life and brute strength." As Siwon kept digging through his notes, he suddenly asked something serious. "By the way, why did you pretend to only know the rumors about Jungjin when you already knew the truth? You even helped him, made him do judo again. It's like you understood him all along." The MC clapped his cheeks and stood up. "Let's go to the store." Siwon just stared at him, confused as ever. The more I get to know him, the harder it is to figure him out. Just what kind of life has he lived? That night, the MC lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. His mind drifted to the past, to a memory of his mother. She had once asked, "What's with that expression?" He'd been upset over not winning anything at an art competition. She told him he still did great, but the MC was frustrated. "What's the point if you're the only one who likes it? I didn't win anything. This was the last competition of first grade." His mother laughed softly. "Well, maybe you drew the tree a bit weird." "Mom!" he shouted, embarrassed. She chuckled, then spoke gently. "Although you may not see it clearly, I believe opportunity is always there. So don't rush, be ready when it comes. Do you understand?" MC nodded slightly, pretending not to care, but deep down, those words stayed with him. Then suddenly, someone knocked at their door. His mother got up, wondering who would visit this late. "Could it be Assistant Choi?" she mumbled. The MC felt something was off. "Mom, don't go." But she insisted she'd be right back. The MC tried to stop her, but he couldn't move. His legs wouldn't respond. He kept struggling, until finally, when he managed to stand, the sight before him froze his blood. His mother, lying lifeless on the ground. A group of men were dragging his father away, and all the MC could think was, why? Why are you the only one who survived? Back in the present, drenched in sweat and haunted by memories, the MC opened his door. Standing outside was Yena. She had come to help him study, just like they had promised. She asked, "What took you so long?" "I was knocking." She then paused, staring at him. After a moment of silence, her face turned red with embarrassment. She quickly apologized and turned to leave. The MC chased after her, flustered. "Wait, it's not what you're thinking." But Yena had already left. Elsewhere, the atmosphere was far more intense. A student was getting beaten by a group of boys from another school. Bloodied and breathless, he begged them to let him speak to Dong Cheol. "I'm serious. Pak Hai is in total chaos." The name Lee Hyungrok came up. He immediately made the call. On the other side of the line, a calm voice answered. "What is it?" Hyungrok replied. "There's trouble brewing at Pak Hai." The man on the other end raised an eyebrow. "What kind of nonsense are you talking about?" He told him that all the chaos currently unfolding at Pak Hai was because of the transfer student. Dong Cheol asked calmly, "Who told you that?" Hyungrok replied, "Remember that guy who transferred last year? The one who said he wanted to grow a mustache like yours?" Dong Cheol scoffed. "That loser?" Hyungrok nodded. "Yeah, have you heard anything from Johan?" Dong Cheol shook his head. "Nothing from him, and nothing from Lim Gukyun either." "Things are getting complicated," Dong Cheol muttered, ending the call. But just as he was about to collect his thoughts, someone interrupted with a sharp jab. "What's the old man brooding about now?" It was a girl, Lee Garam, the student representative of the girls' high school. Right behind her stood Bong Jun, the representative of another boys' school. Dong Cheol rolled his eyes. "Who let the monkeys into a gathering of intellectuals?" Garam flared up. "You want to fight right now, you weak bastard?" Around the room, other school representatives were already seated. Taeho, wearing a cap, and Jung-hoon with glasses were among them. But one seat remained empty. Suddenly, a commanding voice shouted from behind. "Sit down, both of you." Everyone turned. It was Cherian, another school rep. Dong Cheol, surprisingly, blushed at the sight of her, while Garam gritted her teeth and marched over. She stuck out her foot in front of Cherian and muttered, "One day, I'll wreck that pretty little face of yours." Just then, another student walked in, commanding immediate attention. "Everyone take your seats," someone announced. "He's here." The one who entered was the true center of power, Haksa, the head of the Gangbook Alliance. With all representatives now present, Haksa thanked everyone for attending and began the meeting. The discussion, collection progress. It was Gangbook versus Gangnam, and the numbers were in. One student reported that they had reached the collection target. But once again, Gangnam had outperformed Gangbook. Haksa raised his hand and announced that the new collection goal would be increased from last time. Someone questioned if it was necessary to push the numbers so high. Haksa replied that construction was taking longer than expected and that rising costs made it inevitable. Even if they sped things up, the entire project wouldn't be finished until summer. He assured them that once construction was completed, each school would have the freedom to manage collections independently. Karen, meanwhile, had her own doubts. Wasn't the delay because Haksa insisted on building a movie theater inside the facility? Given how wealthy he was, she couldn't help but wonder, was this really about construction costs, or something else entirely? Haksa then turned to Dong Cheol and asked about the new member who had joined the alliance. Dong Cheol tried to brush it off. "It's all going well," but Garam interrupted sharply. "Well? It's a mess. It's Pak Hai, right?" Before Dong Cheol could answer, a shadow loomed behind him. Another student suddenly slammed Dong Cheol's face into the table. It was one of Haksa's enforcers. Haksa stood up, furious. "How many times do I have to tolerate your false reports and lame excuses? Did you think I wouldn't notice?" Dong Cheol tried to explain, stammering. "You better start understanding what shame feels like," Haksa snapped. "Everyone here knows why you're still delaying your graduation. You're just not cut out for this." Dong Cheol tried to defend himself. It was all going according to plan, until another transfer student showed up and took everyone down. "That's why it's in chaos." Haksa didn't flinch. "That's not the answer I wanted." "I'll fix it," Dong Cheol shouted. "I swear, I won't disappoint you this time." The scene cut to Gangbook, where Lim Gukyun was heading home when Hyungrok suddenly stopped him. "Why aren't you answering my calls?" Hyungrok asked. Gukyun coldly replied, "Do I have to?" Before the conversation could continue, a bald student interrupted, yelling, "Traitor!" Gukyun shot back, "Get lost, your breath stinks." Hyungrok tried calming the situation. "We can't fight here." The bald guy stormed off, muttering insults. Hyungrok sighed, turning to Gukyun. "You're being uncooperative, but the alliance has its eyes on this school now. Prepare for what's coming." Later at school, Gukyun looked tense. He knew he couldn't delay any longer. He called out to Dong Hwan, "We need to talk about your fight with the transfer student." But Dong Hwan didn't even glance his way. He was completely absorbed in a phone call, smiling and blushing while talking to a girl. Gukyun's face twisted with disbelief. Dong Hwan proudly showed Gukyun a text conversation on his phone. With a smug grin, he said he was planning to start dating a girl someone introduced by Sihwan. Apparently, she had a thing for big and sturdy guys like him. Gukyun, watching him boast like that, finally snapped. He slapped the phone out of Dong Hwan's hand and growled, telling him that whatever he was doing wasn't dating, and certainly wasn't love. He reminded him of his real task, dealing with the transfer student. If Dong Hwan didn't handle it, Gukyun warned he'd personally pluck out every single hair on his face. But Dong Hwan wasn't having it. His expression darkened as he fired back, calling Gukyun's threats nonsense. No matter how strong that transfer student was, he wasn't going to sit back and act scared. He accused Gukyun of being jealous, saying, "You know what they say, the more you hide your loneliness, the bigger it gets. You won't be able to move forward until you face it." With that, Dong Hwan told Gukyun to stop hiding and go find love for himself, then casually walked away. As he left, Dong Hwan bumped into a long-haired guy and looked back to see Gukyun's face burning with rage. The long-haired guy smirked, clearly amused. Knew he'd end up like that, he chuckled. Dong Hwan then barged into Siwon's classroom and hugged him tightly, calling him a true friend and thanking him for the girl's introduction. The entire class froze, staring in confusion. What are they even doing? Meanwhile, Siwon was struggling to breathe under Dong Hwan's crushing grip. MC, sitting nearby, complained, "Quiet down, I'm trying to study. Stop pretending to be a chiropractor." Dong Hwan let out a laugh. "You must be the transfer student." He released Siwon, pretending like he'd forgotten MC was in the same class. Then, with a sudden shift in tone, he picked up a steel tumbler and crushed it with his bare hand. Turning to MC, he asked, "Should I just crush you like this too?" But before things escalated, Dong Hwan said he couldn't fight just yet. He had a date later and couldn't risk a scratch on his face. Tossing the mangled tumbler aside, he said he'd deal with MC after the date, then walked out. Sihwan, staring in horror at the ruined tumbler, muttered, That wasn't mine." MC smiled. Their plan had worked. Sihwan asked how MC even managed to rope in a girl from another school. Flashback to earlier that day. Yena was tutoring MC, struggling to teach him basic problems. Frustrated, she asked how he planned to deal with harder questions if he couldn't handle this. While she lectured, MC's mind wandered. He thought about conserving stamina, not for the fight, but for surviving her study sessions. As he glanced at her, a strange idea formed in his head. "Hey, you're a girl, right?" he asked suddenly. Yana was instantly disappointed and annoyed. She scolded herself for ending up in this situation, thinking she'd misjudged everything. But MC quickly explained his plan. She just had to chat with Dong Hwan for a few days, and then ghost him. Yana was appalled. "You want me to play with someone's feelings? Absolutely not." But MC remained indifferent. "Fine, if it bothers you so much, forget it." After a tense silence, Yana suddenly asked him something unexpected. "Why did you come here anyway?" High schoolers living in a Goshuan in Seoul were both not exactly normal cases. MC replied calmly, "What do you want to hear? It's not some big dream, just shitty circumstances. Same as yours, I bet." Yana admitted she came to Seoul on a whim. On her first day, a guy on a motorcycle had shown up out of nowhere, throwing money around. MC froze. She described the man, long hair, morning clothes, a weird log on his back. Everything she said matched MC's memory. He asked her to give the money back, but she snapped, "How can I give it back now? That was my father's condolence money," MC told her. Yana went quiet. "Even if I wanted to, I can't return it." MC grabbed her shoulder. "Then pay me back some other way." "Like this?" she replied softly. And that's how their fake romance plan began. As she walked away from the encounter later, Yana bumped into Hyungruk and apologized absent-mindedly. Just then, she received a message from MC. He told her she could end the act now. Yana stared at her phone and hesitated. Then, with a heavy heart, she typed out the rejection. Back at school, Dong Hwan was in the nurse's office. The nurse teased him, asking if he was trying to flirt with his teacher. Flustered, Dong Hwan explained he had another reason for being there. "There's someone I like," he said, "but I'm nervous. It's my first date. What if she's disappointed when she sees me?" He admitted that people had avoided him since he was young. His size and demeanor made him look threatening, but the nurse just laughed. "You've got nothing to worry about. Girls like your type, big shoulders, dependable frame, you're healthy and strong. Have confidence." Dong Hwan, encouraged by her words, checked his phone for a reply. But the message wasn't what he hoped for. The girl rejected him, asking him not to contact her anymore. Crushed, Dong Hwan stared blankly. It was a huge blow, and in that moment, as he sat there, dazed, he lost 99% of his fighting spirit. Right then, MC walked into the room. "I've been looking all over for you," he said. Dong Hwan barely processed it. "You want to fight?" MC didn't hesitate. "Yup," and with a clean punch, MC sent Dong Hwan flying across the room. In the past, Dong Hwan's life had been anything but stable. His father had left so early that he couldn't even remember the man's face. Eventually, his mother left too, quietly abandoning him in the care of a landlord granny, and never returned. As Dong Hwan grew up, so did his body, towering, bulky, and intimidating. His size always drew attention. One day in elementary school, a classmate challenged him, asking if he was the strongest. But when Dong Hwan stood up, the kid turned pale and ran off. The boy even tripped and wet himself out of fear. The others were shocked. He just scared off the strongest guy, just by standing up. Nothing changed in middle school. While walking past two girls, one jokingly said, "There's my boyfriend," pointing at Dong Hwan. Her friend panicked, yelling, "There's a limit to jokes." Just his presence was enough to terrify people. But in high school, something different happened. A beautiful girl approached him, smiled, and asked for his number. For the first time in his life, Dong Hwan felt hope. Maybe this was love. Maybe he wasn't scary after all. He began preparing, folding 1,000 origami hearts. When he finally gathers the courage to confess his love, but then he sees her with some guys, laughing and making fun of him. One of them asks her why she even hangs out with him, and she replies, "He gives off the vibes of a bulldog." Just looking at him is disgusting. Dong Hwan stood nearby, listening to every word, his heart shattered. They laughed even harder when they saw the origami hearts. Seriously? Folding hearts like that? That doesn't suit someone who looks like a bouncer. From that day, Dong Hwan stared at his reflection. If this doesn't suit my looks, then what does? To survive, he had to work, but every job rejected him. Then, some local thugs approached him with a part-time offer. They told him he had talent. Dong Hwan didn't even think twice. He accepted. For the first time, his physique was praised. People looked at him with admiration, even if it was twisted. He became what people expected him to be. Cold, scary, dangerous. They'd go around demolishing homes for shady construction deals. One day, they pointed at a small house and told him to lead the job as usual. But that house, it was his old home, the one the granny still lived in. "Why aren't you starting?" they asked. "This doesn't suit you." Dong Hwan stayed silent. Since then, he had transferred schools, drifted aimlessly, and slowly lost sight of who he was. Back in the present, Yena scrolled through the endless string of desperate messages Dong Hwan had sent after being rejected. Her screen never seemed to stop. Meanwhile, Dong Hwan hadn't returned to school. The once fearsome fighter was now missing in action. Siwan, puzzled, muttered to himself. A guy who used to work for thugs, crushed by a breakup? Suddenly, Gukyun appeared beside him. "What are you doing loitering in front of someone else's classroom?" he asked coldly. "You're the guy always hanging around the transfer student, right?" Siwan nodded. Gukyun stepped closer. "Then learn to keep your head down. I don't know how you made Dong Hwan like that. But it won't end well." Siwan noticed something was off. Gukyun seemed unusually tense, like he hadn't been since the time before the school's academic-based employment system was implemented. Back then, Tae-suk was absent and things were chaotic, students beating up teachers, total anarchy. Even then, Gukyun had stood out. Siwan now realized he might have been the only sane one in that madness. Inside the boys' bathroom, Hyungmin, the guy who'd once been beaten by the MC, was having flashbacks of being threatened by other school punks. They'd told him to bring out his school's top dog, Tae-suk. Suddenly, one of his juniors walked in and handed him a cigarette, saying he got the secret item he asked for. As the junior's lighter failed, he looked around for help. He spotted someone standing alone and asked, "Hey, you got a lighter?" Hyungmin was about to laugh. Such a loyal junior, he thought. But when he looked up and saw who the kid was talking to, his heart sank. The junior started mocking MC, thinking he was deaf. "This guy doesn't even understand what I'm saying." But before he could finish, MC grabbed the guy by the mouth, instantly silencing the entire room. After stepping out of the restroom, the MC ran into Tae-suk. Their eyes met, and as they walked past each other, the MC casually told him to make sure he washed his hands. Before he could get far, Tae-suk asked him to visit his store sometime if he liked the gamjatang. The MC said the request felt random, but Tae-suk explained it was his mother's idea, not his. The MC replied that the gamjatang was delicious, then walked away. Tae-suk watched him leave without saying a word, entering the restroom. Inside, Tae-suk saw the two boys unconscious, heads shoved beneath the urinals. Outside the school gates, Siwan was pestering MC again. "So who are you fighting next?" MC replied with a sigh. "No one today, I'm taking a break." But that peace didn't last. Suddenly, a loud voice echoed across campus. "Where is he?" It was Dong Hwan, back, furious, and shouting for MC. Behind him stood Yena, panting and out of breath, desperately trying to stop him. Earlier that day, Yena had read the final message Dong Hwan sent her, the one that broke her. "I probably rambled too long, right? Sorry. But, thank you. You talked to me even without knowing my face. Because of you, I think I understood a little more about myself. I just wanted you to know how honest I was. If we ever meet again, I want to listen to your story too. Goodbye." Yena's eyes welled up. She told Dong Hwan everything. As the two boys squared off, students gathered in shock. Especially when they noticed Yena, a girl from another school, in the middle of it all. "Are they fighting over her?" someone whispered. "Is this a love triangle? Revenge? Romance? What is this, a drama?" Even the school's top rankers couldn't believe it. One of them muttered, "What's with all this bullshit?" Dong Hwan stood before MC, anger burning in his eyes. He accused him, not just of threatening Yena with money, but of trying to steal her. The crowd fell silent. Then gasps. Murmurs erupted. "Did he just say, steal his girl?" Dong Hwan nodded with conviction. "I get it. Yena's pretty, but I won't let you take her from me, not with the power of love on my side." The entire school courtyard exploded in whispers. It really is a love war, someone said. One of the old-timers proudly nodded, praised for his accurate observation. But MC, unfazed, turned to Yena. What exactly did you say to him? Yena looked confused. Nothing. I didn't say anything like that. Dongwon waved it off, telling Yena to relax. I'll take care of him. And with that, he charged at MC, full speed. MC braced himself. Should have known. There are no shortcuts in life. His fist shot forward, straight into Donghuan's face. The crowd froze. Donghuan staggered slightly, but didn't fall. MC followed up with an uppercut, but Donghuan just scratched his chin and smirked. What are you trying to do? Shave my beard? The students were stunned. No wonder he's ranked 6th. He just tanked that. MC calmly looked at him. Give me 5-1, I'll tell you a secret. But Donghuan wasn't in the mood for games. You'll never beat me. You know why? Because you never take anything seriously. He glared. Ever since you transferred, everything's been a game to you. I don't know where you came from, but I've never once sensed any real intent behind your actions. Meanwhile, Yena understood my pain. She was considerate. She saw me for who I am, not like you. Then he roared. As long as she's watching, I have a reason to win. Donghuan charged again, this time with full strength. MC waited, and just as he got close, MC kicked dust up into his face. Donghuan stumbled back, momentarily blinded. MC chuckled, but the crowd didn't approve. Seriously? Dust to the eyes? Trying to track MC by shadow, Donghuan lunged in a direction, but it was only MC's uniform. MC had already moved behind him. Donghuan instinctively turned and threw a punch. MC narrowly dodged, surprised by his speed. Donghuan shouted, preparing another punch, when pain suddenly shot through his jaw. The earlier punches from MC were finally landing. Another blow from MC followed, cracking across his face. Observers realized Donghuan wasn't resisting the damage. The impact was just delayed. His physique was strong, but MC was precise. He attacked pressure points and weak spots. Donghuan's physical advantage was becoming meaningless. Yongjin couldn't fight properly, sure, one student said. But Donghuan, he's a wrestler, and even he's getting countered like this? Donghuan launched into another barrage. MC kept weaving through the strikes. Then, when Donghuan turned slightly, bam! The MC punched him straight in the face, making him stumble and feel dizzy. But then Donghuan noticed Yena watching him get beaten. Fueled by embarrassment, he gathered his strength and threw a punch at the MC. The MC dodged easily. When the MC countered with another punch, Donghuan tightened his core, twisted his body, and narrowly dodged it, surprising the MC. That's not a normal punch, but Donghuan still wasn't going down. He's got insane power too, MC admitted silently. I can't underestimate him. Donghuan tackled MC to the ground and tried to slam both fists down, but MC rolled away and got behind him again. As Donghuan stood to retaliate, MC tossed his uniform in his face. Donghuan yelled, "Quit with the tricks!" Before he could react, MC used the shirt to choke him from behind. Donghuan fell to one knee, struggling for breath. "Stop it!" Yena screamed. "You'll kill him!" MC held firm. "He's not going to give up easily. He's going to faint. Let him go." In that moment, Donghuan's vision blurred, and memories from his past began to flood in. He remembered the day the thugs kicked the old granny out of her home. That home was his home. He remembered standing among them, helpless. They told him to smash everything inside. He just stood there, torn apart inside. This isn't what I wanted, he thought. I didn't choose this. I just look like this. I didn't have a choice. He wanted to be seen, acknowledged, maybe even loved. Then another memory hit him, his mother's words before she disappeared. No matter what happens in life, promise me one thing. Never hate yourself. He had asked her where she was going. She didn't answer, only told him to protect grandma and apologized for everything. Back in the memory, as the thugs threw the granny to the ground, Donghuan caught her. Tears poured down his face. I can't do this anymore. The boss and his men were stunned. What are you doing? I quit, Donghuan said firmly. Get the tools, the boss ordered. We can't fight him with fists. The boss told Donghuan. You were happy when we praised you. You were eager to be useful, but you don't act like how you look. And everything that happens now, it's all your fault. He raised the steel bat to strike. Donghuan had taken countless blows, but he refused to move. Bloodied and battered, he remained kneeling, shielding his grandmother from the thugs. They had tried everything to make her sign the papers, just when things were about to spiral further. Flashing red lights arrived. The police barged in. The gang scattered in panic. Donghuan, still holding his grandma, sat quietly, his body trembling. Was this what they called karma? Consequences? He sat there alone, until warm, wrinkled hands cupped his cheeks. His grandmother smiled, tears in her eyes. Why is my beautiful baby crying like that? I'm so lucky to have you. But it was just a memory, an illusion, because after that day, her long-dormant illness returned. And this time, it didn't let go. She passed away not long after. Regret began to eat away at Donghuan's heart. He stopped searching for meaning in his life. He stopped searching for himself. In his quiet room, he stared at an old photo, his mother holding him when he was a child. No matter what happens, she had once said, never hate yourself. That promise had long been buried. College felt out of reach. but he still had a shot at employment. Maybe if he landed a job, his mom would come back. So even if it meant becoming a monster, even if it meant going against the promise he made to his grandmother, he'd do it. He had no choice, or so he thought. In a past conversation with Yena, Dongwon had tried calling himself a monster. Yena didn't let him. Don't ever say that about yourself. I treated you coldly, I know. But none of this was your fault. Not your mother leaving, not your grandmother's passing. We're still just kids. We all want the same thing, to be loved. Those words stayed with him. Back in the present, Dongwon lay on the ground, choking under MC's shirt. His eyes shot open. Did you think I'd go down that easily? The crowd gasped. He sprang up, fists clenched, eyes blazing. Everyone stared in disbelief. How is he still standing? Dongwon lunged at MC again. His punch barely dodged. The two clashed, their hands locked in a power struggle. The world forced a life onto me. Dongwon gritted through his teeth. I lived with pain you wouldn't understand. That's why I can understand Yena better than you ever will. But MC didn't flinch. He bashed his forehead against Dongwon's and barked back. Were you really happy like that? Did you really have no choice? You ran from yourself, hid behind excuses, pretended to be someone you weren't, just for a fake sense of peace. That's why you'll never truly be loved. Dongwon roared. What would you know about it? I know better than anyone, MC muttered, because I've never been happy either. And then, they both punched each other. A loud crack echoed. Both collapsed to the ground at the same time. The crowd held their breath. Who won? Dongwon slowly pulled himself up. But then, MC also stood. Dongwon looked at him, confused. Why'd you take the punch? You could have dodged it. MC dusted off his sleeves. We had to end this fairly. This way no one leaves with regrets. Dongwon let out a weak laugh. Guess I was looking down on you after all. He fell back with a heavy thud. You win. The crowd erupted. MC is the winner. Yena rushed to Dongwon, worried. Is your face okay? He gave her a lopsided smile. I don't want to admit it, but MC's good enough to be your guy. Yena froze. It's not like that, but Dongwon was already looking at MC again, silently acknowledging him. Something in the air had shifted. With MC taking the 6th rank, the school's power structure was changing, like a tiny ember quietly igniting the silence. And that ember was about to become a wildfire. Even the old man in the crowd, once mocking, stood in silence, resonating with the words he'd just witnessed. MC turned to Si-hwan. What are you doing here? Si-hwan shrugged. Let's go home. Meanwhile, high above them, Gukyan watched everything unfold from a balcony. But something else caught his eye. A figure in a blue hoodie, lurking nearby, eyes locked on the school grounds. Without a word, the figure disappeared into the shadows. Gukyan's expression darkened. Elsewhere, in a small restaurant kitchen, Tae-suk was helping his mother clean up. You've been helping a lot lately, she said with a warm smile. Shouldn't you go play with your friends? He gave her a soft smile. There's nothing else to do. Tae-suk told his mother that the MC liked the soup and might stop by again sometime. After that, his mother told him to go home. But the moment Tae-suk sensed something, he stepped outside and checked the alley. No one was there. However, just around the corner, someone was murmuring to himself. So, you're doing well. And that person was none other than Johan, the former rank 1. Back at the rooftop Goshiwan, MC stood outside Yena's room, knocking softly. He had brought her food from Tae-suk's family restaurant, but she refused to open the door. I don't want dinner from you, she snapped from inside. You used me to trick Donghwan. Just go away. But instead of arguing, MC slammed his hand lightly on the door and placed the food down. When Yena finally flung the door open in frustration, MC simply handed her the bag and said, You don't have to study if you don't want to, but at least eat properly. Without waiting for a response, he turned and walked back to his room. Yena stood there, cheeks flushed. Does whatever he wants. Just a thug with no manners. Inside his room, MC reflected on his earlier fight with Donghwan. His words echoed in his head. Why am I even thinking about this? He muttered, then headed into the shower. But the water only stirred more memories. Dark ones. His father's voice echoed from the past. We don't kill for sport. We do it to protect. Next time, you may have to take someone's life. He had taught him how to react without fear, to abandon emotions, to give up on normalcy. The moment you yearn to live normally, your blade dulls, and a dull knife doesn't kill enemies, it kills you. Even if you get revenge, you'll never find happiness. Forget about being loved. MC stared at his reflection under the falling water. It's exhausting. Meanwhile, in another part of the city, Garam, also known as the Hood Billy, stormed into a private bar with a red-haired high school rep. The guy complained, Why are we even here? Isn't this your turf? Garam replied coolly, Leader said not to move in big groups, told us to handle this on our own. As they entered, the man behind the counter stopped them. Only students from this school allowed in right now. Before he could finish, Garam slammed his head into the table. Inside, several boys from different schools looked up, stunned. Garam introduced herself without hesitation. We're from the High School Alliance. You rejected our offer once. I came to ask nicely, again. Then she grinned. But now? Now you'll pay. You ruined my dinner. So, how about I bash your heads in? The boys laughed until she kicked one square in the face. Chaos erupted. She took on everyone, knocking them down one by one. Few of them rushed in to attack the red-haired boy, but he pulled out his phone and started smashing their faces with it, knocking them down one by one. Everyone around him was terrified. One tried to escape. Garam spotted him, leapt and yanked out his earring mid-run, leaving blood dripping. "Did I say you could run?" Someone tried to stop her, but the red-haired rep stepped in, blocking him. Elsewhere, in a luxurious home, Haksa, the cold and calculating leader of the alliance, sat scrolling through his phone. He received a message from Garam with a picture of the defeated group. He replied, "Good, clean it up." But the dismissive tone only irritated Garam. Back in the bar, one of the beaten students begged, "We lost. Can't we go now?" She kicked him in the face. "We warned you. Rejecting us meant double the punishment. You should have accepted when the leader gave you the chance." At home, Haksa stared at his phone screen. He hesitated, then called a number saved under father. A man answered. It was their manager. "I want to talk to my father," Haksa said. "About what?" "The high school alliance. Doesn't he care that all of Seoul is under our control now?" The manager sighed, then handed the phone over. His father finally spoke. "You've done well, aside from some small schools on the outskirts. But you still have a long way to go. Is that all?" Haksa's voice trembled. "You've never once called me. Is it really so hard to see me?" His father shut it down. "You'll be acknowledged when you show results. Don't call again unless it's important." And with that, the call ended. Haksa stood frozen, before slamming his fist down on a glass of wine, shattering it and cutting his hand. He stared at the blood, then licked it with a twisted grin. To him, I'm still just an unwanted mistake. He sank into the sofa, laughing to himself. But I'll show him. I'll give him something so impactful, he won't be able to ignore me. I'll stop being a stain, and become a storm. Just then, a new message appeared. It was from Johan. The next day at school, as MC stepped into the classroom, he spotted Donghwan and Sihwan huddled over a phone, playing games. The moment Donghwan saw him, he lit up and shouted, "My friend is here." But MC wasn't in the mood for games. He walked over and kicked Donghwan lightly, demanding he get off his seat and pay him back for tearing his school uniform. Then MC turned his attention to the rest of the room and called out Taesuk's name, asking him to make space. But Taesuk didn't respond. He was lost in thought, completely zoning out. Just then, Jungjin walked in and casually asked MC if he was free. From the back, one student wondered why so many people had started gathering around MC lately. And yet, Taesuk remained unbothered. Or at least, it seemed that way on the surface. In truth, Taesuk's mind was elsewhere. He kept thinking about the strange presence he had sensed the day before. The more he thought about it, the more convinced he became. It might have been Johan. Flashback to the previous day. During a heated moment in the schoolyard, students were whispering that MC might have taken down Park Hwasu as well. Before one of them could finish the sentence, a fist connected with his face. Hwasu had arrived and slammed the gossiping student to the ground. Furious, he shouted at everyone spreading rumors, daring them to speak again. Then he turned to MC and challenged him directly. "Fight me, right now." But MC calmly declined. "You're acting tough by picking on random guys," he replied. Hwasu stared him down, but MC turned to Yena and said he was too tired today. "I'll fight tomorrow." Hwasu paused. "You're different from when you beat up Choi Johan's goons. I thought you were like me." Then he walked off, saying he'd meet MC tomorrow. He needed to draw a line between them. Back to the present. MC was now imitating Hwasu's dramatic line and noticed he wasn't at school. Jungjin informed him that Hwasu had received a phone call, probably something serious, and might be at the hospital. MC smirked. "What, are you worried? You two hang out so much, are you dating?" Jungjin calmly replied, "I respect everyone's choices, but I'm straight." MC shrugged, saying it was just a joke. Still, he asked, "Why are you telling me all this?" Jungjin's tone turned serious. "By now you should know, no one hears without a sob story." He explained that although Hwasu started the fight with MC, the guy was dealing with heavy personal issues at home. That caught MC's attention. "Which hospital?" he asked. Jungjin looked surprised. "Why? You planning to fight him while he's down?" But MC shook his head. "No, I want to fight him now, so I don't feel guilty about it later. Besides, he's probably easier to beat when he's going through a rough patch." Just then, Dongwon chimed in from across the room. He warned MC that Hwasu wasn't someone to underestimate. He has intermittent explosive disorder. The guy flips like a switch, goes into a blind rage no matter the situation. That's why people avoid him during fights. Even strong opponents end up caught in the chaos. MC rolled his eyes. "Mind your own business." But Donghwan insisted. "I'm just worried. We're friends, right?" Jungjin nodded and offered to tell him the hospital's name. When MC asked why the sudden change of heart, Jungjin simply said, "Because it's you. I don't think I need to worry." Later, in the classroom, MC turned to Siwon, though he still mispronounced his name as Simmons. "What are you doing after school?" MC asked. Siwon replied that he had plans. MC thought back to what Dongwon said, how people often got caught in Hwasu's rampages and decided to go alone. "Forget it," he said. But Siwon was curious now. "Where are you headed?" MC asked. "You ever heard of Bacchus?" Siwon blinked in confusion. MC described a scary, violent-looking guy with long hair. "Wait, do you mean Hwasu?" Siwon warned him again. "Even knowing how strong you are, I still have to say, be careful." Hwasu doesn't care if his arms break or if he's bleeding. He doesn't stop until everything's over. Doesn't matter if he wins or loses. That's why even high rankers avoid fighting him. I think even Taesuk feels the same. Meanwhile, a group of students were lounging around, discussing the mess they were in. Hyungmin snapped at them, angry at their complacency. Figure out how to deal with Taesuk. Stop messing around. They argued back, saying it was suicide to even think about going up against him. One of them pointed out that Johan wasn't even around anymore. Hyungmin grabbed the guy, furious, but the student stood his ground. You gonna hit me? Go ahead. Let's see how someone ranked 8 fights. I've never even seen you throw a punch. The tension escalated until someone else arrived, Johan. He casually took a seat, scanning through some information. One of the boys updated him on MC's recent victories, how he beat everyone up to Donghwan and didn't even flinch when a knife was pulled on him. Johan's presence was so intense, everyone around him looked like they might wet themselves. Hyungmin leaned in. What about Taesuk? What are we gonna do? Johan replied coolly. Already contacted some guys from East High. I'll handle him myself, but first, find out where MC is. At the hospital, MC stood at the nurse's station, trying to ask for Hwasu's room number. The problem? He kept calling him Bacchus. The nurse stared at him, confused and annoyed, as MC argued about pronunciation. Then, in the distance, MC heard a familiar ruckus. Some guys were making noise near one of the rooms. MC smirked to himself. Found him. Inside the hospital room, a man sat peeling an apple leisurely, acting like he was doing a favor. He claimed he had extended their payment deadline, arranged for a private ward, and even brought apples, calling himself a philanthropist. As he offered one to Hwasu's mother, Hwasu sat nearby, furious. He suddenly shouted, asking why they kept harassing his family and why they couldn't chase after the real culprit, the man who took the money. But the thug stood up and sneered. That bastard disappeared, probably crawled into a hole or died. Same goes for your dad. And since the father was gone, the wife and child were expected to pay the debt in his place. Hwasu clenched his fists and shouted in rage. Then go dig up his corpse and check his pockets. We have nothing. Suddenly, one of the goons slammed Hwasu's head onto the table. Another thug leaned in close. What do you mean you don't have money? You'll do just fine without an eye or a kidney. Unless you want your mother thrown out and saddled with the hospital bill too. Hwasu mumbled something under his breath, and the thug moved closer, asking him to repeat it. Instead, Hwasu spat in his face and told him to get lost. That's when the beating started. They knocked Hwasu down and continued to pummel him as he begged them to stop. Outside the room, MC had just arrived but was stopped by 2 guards at the door. He told them to move aside. Pushing past them, MC stepped inside the ward. The thugs turned to him, asking if he had walked into the wrong room. Ignoring them, MC looked at Hwasu's mother and introduced himself as Hwasu's friend. The admin office was looking for you. I'll take care of Hwasu here. He handed her a paper and asked her to step outside for a moment. Once she left, he closed the door behind her. Then MC casually sat beside Hwasu and turned to the thugs. Why'd you beat him up like this? He won't be able to fight me now. One of the goons grabbed him, snarling. What business do you have here? Want a beating too? But as he pulled MC close, his eyes landed on a knife scar across MC's chest. He paused. Is this guy really just a student? Still, he prepared to swing. But MC was already moving. Dodging his strike, he grabbed the thug from behind and landed a brutal elbow to his ribs. As the man screamed in pain, MC followed up with a fierce kick to the face. The boss, now panicked, grabbed a nearby knife and charged. MC responded by flipping the table into him, then followed up with a solid kick that knocked the boss to the floor. With a knife now in his own hand, MC pinned him down. The man whimpered, begging him to stop, but MC flipped the blade and struck with the handle, not the edge. Then he leaned in close and spoke coldly. Open your ears. From what I heard, you're looking for the guy who took your money, right? Then find him. That's what adults are supposed to do. Don't ever show your face in front of these 2 again, and leave some cash behind for the hospital bills. Hwasu, still on the ground, stared in disbelief. Was this really the same guy from school? He had never seen anyone move like that, except back then. Suddenly, a voice rang out in the hall. Police! MC stood up immediately. Looks like I'm leaving. We'll fight next time. As he slipped out, he saw the nurse pointing toward him, while Hwasu's mother stood nearby, shocked. Outside the hospital, Siwon Aka Simmons was just arriving. He waved at the nurse, asking about Hwasu's room. Before he could enter, he spotted MC sprinting toward him with the police behind him. Without hesitation, MC grabbed Siwon's arm and shouted, "Run!" The 2 bolted from the hospital. At an abandoned building, panting, they finally stopped to catch their breath. Siwon looked at him, confused. What the hell happened back there? MC wiped sweat from his brow and muttered, "It's complicated." Just then, a shadow appeared at the gate. It was Hwasu. MC froze. Did he follow us from the hospital? Hwasu stepped forward, eyes burning with confusion and anger. Why the hell did you help me? Who are you? MC shrugged. Isn't it obvious? I'm just like you. But Hwasu wasn't buying it. Don't screw with me. Those guys weren't your average school thugs. They were real gangsters, and you beat them all up like it was nothing. Once again, he asked, Who the hell are you? Where did you even come from? MC looked at him blankly. Even if I told you, you wouldn't understand. And with that, he walked off. Because no matter what Hwasu thought of him, whatever assumptions he had, MC was something far beyond all of it.
With that, the story comes to an end. I hope you liked it. Don't forget to subscribe to Senpai Respawn